Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio, and today we are looking at yet another piece of Masters of the Universe Revelation. Screenrant came back and wrote an original piece here titled Why Masters of the Universe Was Right to Kill Off So Many Characters. Masters of the Universe Revelation created controversy with its multiple character deaths. Here's why these story decisions weren't mistakes. Now, yes, there's a lot of controversy surrounding Masters of the Universe, and I feel rightfully so. You know, you kill off your central character in the first episode, yeah, it's going to piss a lot of people off. And before I even get into this article, I think a source of a lot of the controversy is simply the fact that Netflix split this series up over two parts. You know, if you're going to kill off He-Man in the very first episode, if people could have binged it all the way to the end of episode 10 and seen like what the showrunners were going to do with it, I don't think the backlash would have been as severe. But we are where we are, and you just had Kevin Smith basically come out and tell the entire fan base who had any criticism of the show, it doesn't matter how legitimate it was, to simply fuck right off. So anyone who was going to give part 2 a chance probably isn't, and they are well within the right to not give it a chance. So without further dilly-dallying, let's get into this Screenrant article here. Though Masters of the Universe Revelation created controversy with its multiple character deaths, the show wasn't necessarily wrong with its approach to the classic cast. Again, what I'm going to say is let's hear out their arguments before jumping down their throat. A large number of fans have expressed dissatisfaction with the direction taken by the first batch of episodes from the Netflix series, blah, 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 created by Kevin Smith as a continuation from the original He-Man, the Masters of the Universe cartoon from the 80s. Masters of the Universe Revelation wasted no time in changing the status quo for the series. Before the end of the first episode, it was made clear why He-Man was no longer a part of the title. The main protagonist of the original show made the ultimate sacrifice to save Eternia and at the end of the series premiere, allowing focus to shift toward Teela. Plus, He-Man wasn't the show's only notable casualty. Several classic characters lost their lives over the course of just 5 episodes, and based on how things have progressed, they may not be the last. As the story progresses, there's a chance more fan favorites will meet untimely ends. So, unsurprisingly, the character deaths in Revelation haven't received altogether positive reactions from the fanbase. Since He-Man is a beloved cartoon icon, yes he is, not everyone has welcomed the decision to kill him off and let Teela take the spotlight. While this position is understandable, how Revelation is moving forward shows that the show was actually right to kill off so many heroes and villains. Again, let's actually hear out the arguments before jumping down their throats. But actually, I'm going to get to that point in a minute, and the point of allowing Teela to take the spotlight. I'm going to get to that by the end. So let's get into the first main argument that the article presents here, and that is Revelation's deaths are reinventing Masters of the Universe. Okay, I don't know how that's really a defense, but let's hear it out. I'm going to read the whole thing here. The deaths featured in Masters of the Universe Revelation have reinvented the characters and stories from the original in meaningful ways. First of all, it's worth noting that while Revelation isn't trying to deliver R-rated material, it is trying to be a more mature He-Man cartoon, and that I can respect. Is that, you know, you're going from a 1980s cartoon where death was a big no-no to now let's mature up the cartoon and introduce that, hey, death can happen in this world. I think that will help the show stand the test of time. It's personally why I can't go back and rewatch G.I. Joe, because when you realize that none of the characters can be killed off, the stakes are very, very... The stakes aren't even very, very low. They're absent. You know, and let's call these shows for what they were. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, Thundercats. There's probably quite a few more that I can't think of off the top of my head. Were basically just glorified toy commercials is all they were. So I'm not against them trying to mature up the cartoon in that way, but it's how they went about it is what's driving fans apart. Now, getting back to this argument here, allowing the series to grow up is a good thing, considering that part of the point is to appeal to the show's original viewers from the 1980s. Yes, because He-Man is not Star Wars. You know, let's be honest. He-Man was never as popular as Star Wars, meaning it was never going to sell itself. It had to appeal to the original viewers, and hope that the good word of mouth from Masters of the Universe Revelation would sell the show. Well, that clearly didn't happen. To that end, it's important that He-Man matures with the audience. Masters of the Universe Revelation achieved that not only through tragic deaths, but also with who it chose to kill off. In the original cartoon, as well as the remakes, Orko's purpose was to provide comedy relief, with much of the humor he created being directed at children. As the silliest aspect of the franchise, Orko doesn't really have a place in the bigger picture of Revelation. He might... But I wouldn't say that you don't have room for comic relief. A comic relief character can provide a lot of value, especially in a highly dramatic show. You know, you can have a really, really tense moment, have, you know, high intensity, and then by the end of that, you could have a character like Orko come along and, you know, and calm the audience down a bit. But... So yeah, to say that comic relief characters have no place in mature cartoons, in my opinion, is an absolute bullshit argument. But they ended off here, which is why it seems fitting that he was among the casualties. His death helps the show move forward. Again, I think that they're making a bullshit argument by saying that there's no room for comic relief characters in a show that's, you know, this series about death, tragic, and mayhem. Why can't you have a character that, you know, can make light of the situation every now and then, or bring the, you know, intensity down every now and then? Because you can't have everybody sit on the edge of their seats for every fucking second of every episode, because at some point they're just going to run out of energy, or the audience, and at some point the audience is just straight up not going to care. But before I tangent off for way too long, let's get into their second argument, and that's right here. Revelation's deaths allow for new and reimagined characters. The tragedies experienced by Revelation's protagonists have paved the way for exciting new heroes and reimagined versions of existing characters. Discovering that Prince Adam and He-Man are one and the same in the character's final moments crushed Teela. Understanding that she was the only important person in his life who didn't know his secrets set her up as Revelation's main character, as well as her own personal arc in the story. These changes she went through made it possible for Revelation to offer a new and more nuanced take on Teela. Teela wasn't the only He-Man character impacted by the show's deaths. No longer the fearful sidekick of the hero, Cringer gained an unlikely role as a voice of reason for Teela. Man-at-Arms stands out as another example of a major He-Man character rebooted by the series' big death. Man-at-Arms being cast out for lying to the king about Prince Adam's identity following He-Man's death added a tragic element to his character once he returned to the series. There's also a matter of Evil Lyn and Beastman. The fall of Skeletor led to two villains to an interesting, albeit brief, team-up with the heroes. And this is one of the main criticisms, is that you killed off the central character just to focus on these side characters. Again, depending on what they do with the death of He-Man, it could have been interesting. But now, I think with Kevin Smith coming out and basically running his mouth at any portion of the fan base, any and all portions of the fan base who had any legitimate criticisms, by basically telling them to go fuck off, has pretty much squandered that potential away. So they're going to come back with, who fucking cares? And I don't blame a single one of them for saying that. Teela's journey in the aftermath of He-Man's demise has introduced a new protagonist in the form of Andra, who wasn't in the 1983 cartoon, as an updated version of a comic character with no history in the shows. Andra provides a fun window into Teela's adventures for newer viewers, and breathes some degree of levity into what would otherwise be an incredibly dark atmosphere. Why couldn't Orko provide that? Because back in your first argument, you were saying that Orko being a comic relief character serves no purpose in a show this dramatic and this dark, but yet you're praising Andra for, breathing in some degree of levity. So would that make Andra kind of the comic relief character if she's, if her role is to bring the tension down? So right there, you just contradicted yourself. There's no room for Orko, but Andra is perfectly okay, despite you just describing them as the same fucking character. But I think that's where that's a big contradiction right there, in my opinion. It may be that as more episodes are released, Revelation will bring in more new characters capable of imparting something unique onto the show. And I don't think that people have a problem with introducing new characters, but don't have them come in at the sacrifice of the central characters. And here's the final point that the article makes right here. Masters of the Universe isn't abandoning He-Man and Skeletor. While it's true that the show is certainly taking risks, it hasn't gone too far. That's your opinion. Masters of the Universe Revelation Episode 5 served as an indication that it's not abandoning its two biggest characters. Skeletor is back via a huge twist involving Evelyn's scepter, and Prince Adam was brought out of Preternia. Though Prince Adam getting stabbed at the end hinted at a second death for He-Man, it may not have been fatal. Again, we don't know. He-Man dying a meaningless death after giving up a peaceful existence in the afterlife would be dark for sure, but that may not be the direction Revelation is taking the characters. Again, we're going to have to wait and see, but I guarantee you the majority of a majority of the fan base is not going to even give Part 2 a chance for reasons that I've already explained. Remarks from Kevin Smith and He-Man voice actor Kevin Wood suggest that the show isn't done with the original show's main hero. Smith commented on the ridiculousness of the notion that Mattel, the owner of the rights of He-Man, would let him kill off Adam. Also, Wood pointed out that Episode 5 ends with Prince Adam simply being quote-unquote wounded and not dead. Furthermore, Smith has teased a major He-Man Skeletor showdown in the episodes to come. He could always be talking about a flashback, but in light of these statements and the popularity of He-Man, it feels more likely that He-Man isn't going anywhere, but that's not a problem either because it doesn't erase the journeys other characters have experienced in his absence, nor does it change the fact that his secret is out for good. His return wouldn't undo the importance of his sacrifice because it already transformed the series into a show that's not reliant on He-Man. Revelation just has to ensure that it maintains this approach. Again, I see where people are coming from in that, you're going to call your show Masters of the Universe, but then kill off He-Man in Episode 1. Your central character, again, we're going to get to that. Here's how the article ends, the final paragraph here. Ultimately, it appears that what Revelation has done is kill off some big names while simultaneously finding ways to keep its two central characters. In other words, Masters of the Universe Revelations didn't make the mistake of killing off the wrong heroes or villains. The deaths of Mossman, Orko, and Roboto won't ruin the show. And as for He-Man and Skeletor, they haven't been abandoned. Their bitter rivalry is likely to remain integral to their world. I'm going to say this. This was just killing off characters for the sake of killing off characters straight up ruined both Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead. In fact, it was so bad on The Walking Dead. Season 9 of The Walking Dead was I remember AMC coming out and literally having a countdown until Rick Grimes' death. That's how bad the show got. It's basically, who's gonna die this week? And you're only wanting to kill off characters mostly for the shock value of, oh my god, I can't believe that they killed off this character. But because so many other shows have done that, everybody's just kind of like, meh, whatever. And then, God forbid you kill off the wrong character, and then you've just opened up a whole can of worms. But guys, I do want to bring up this fact that I actually had a journey over onto Bounding into Comics because I wanted to see if it was actually true about Clownfish TV's tweets and whether or not they were provoking Kevin Smith first. And I actually found it. I had to go over there because the tweets have been deleted, but they somehow archived them. So I'll splash them up on the screen right here. So here was the damning tweet that pretty much started this whole fucking controversy. And it reads, quote, "My understanding of Kevin Smith's He-Man series from an alleged insider, Teela is a better He-Man than Adam, and he steps aside to let her and her girlfriend take over hero duties. If true, this won't play well." Now notice in the tweet, they never added Kevin Smith, so he would have never gotten notified that he was tagged in the post. But that didn't stop Kevin Smith from replying, and here was his first reply. "As showrunner, I really could have used these story suggestions before we locked the scripts. However, no, He-Man does no stepping aside, and Teela has no girlfriend in our show. The storyline is pretty dark and way metal. Before Revelation, we were calling it End of the Universe and actually tagging Clownfish TV in it." And he just kept going on and on, just barraging them, despite the fact never adding them. So anyone who says that Clownfish TV provoked Kevin Smith, other way around. So it looks like Kevin Smith here is the guy that threw the first punch, and he wanted to bury the lead because, oh my God, it got out that this was going to be the Tila show. And the funny part is that same Bounding into Comics article actually found the tweet from 2010, basically where Kevin Smith admits, I wasn't a He-Man fan. Like, the first what, 5 or 6 words basically is, I wasn't a He-Man fan, but, you know, why are you making a show on He-Man? And one of the commenters on the site makes a really good point. I'm going to splash this up on the screen too. You know, this comment comes from Myth of Monsters. A Tila show might not be bad. She was a great character, but if that is what you made, just be upfront and tell us. It just feels like they went, hey, the audience won't show up for this unless we say it's about He-Man. And and that commenter has a point. This is the whole sticking point to the controversy right here. They wanted to make Masters of the Universe Revelation about Tila, which some fans are saying it's fine, but it feels like the showrunners were going out of their way to kind of hide the point and saying, you know, no, He-Man is going to be integral to this, when clearly he wasn't. Why weren't they just upfront and honest? And it's like, yeah, the show is going to focus on Tila, and then the fans of the original series would have picked up on it like that, and where it's like, oh, okay, now it's starting to click, now it's starting to come together, this is going to be a true continuation. Some people would have written this off as quote-unquote woke, but, you know, whatever. You know, I think this is the exact reason why people are mad, is because Kevin Smith did straight up fucking lie. You know, he wanted to hide the fact that He-Man dies in the first episode, and turn the show into the Tila show when nobody was expecting it. Everybody was expecting it to be a He-Man show. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here because I think I've gone on for long enough. And honestly, guys, I think this is going to be my last Masters of the Universe Revelation video for a while. Up until Netflix releases the streaming numbers and or Mattel releases the numbers for the toy sales. Because otherwise, after this point, I think I'm just beating a dead horse. I think we hit the nail on the head here today. Is that the main reason why people are pissed off is because the showrunners straight up lied. Essentially, Masters of the Universe was promised to be a He-Man show because He-Man's name was originally in the title, and then they dropped it, and then it became the Tila show. And when the shit hit the fan, Kevin Smith came out and told everybody who criticized the show to grow the fuck up. So now any interesting storyline with He-Man in, you know, was it Preternia? Any interest in that now is more than likely gone. But I want to know what you guys think down below. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. Thanks so much for sticking around this long if you have done so. And if you guys have been following me long enough, you know I am terrible at ending these. So I will just see you guys next time.